Plenty of new worries about an escalating war in Israel and what we're told was a tense phone call between President Biden and Benjamin Netanyahu. Higher oil prices as a result, but don't count Scott Martin among those saying that somehow there is a shift that is just hitting the fan. I had to practice that a number of times. All right, Scott, always good to have you. So what do you make of this? All of a sudden we have these worries, escalating war, the whole 9 yards. Peter Leidy's coming up saying, get ready, it's going to get bad. Where are you on this?
It's amazing when the shift does hit the fan, Neil, and the fan keeps spinning no matter what, even as the shift gets heavier. And that's really what I think we need to remember as investors is almost as dark as it gets, the dawn is coming. And that's why I believe that as we do maybe run out of a wall of worry to climb, as you'd mentioned in the intake there, the reality is that the market will build other walls to climb. And so when we go through these geopolitical issues, when we go through these concerns about oil prices, these concerns about prices of just things that we buy at the store these days, the reality is the market will adjust, and the Federal Reserve knows what's going on. I think this Federal Reserve, Neil, has engineered one of the most, understudied or underappreciated soft landings in history. And therefore, the market has a lot to build on here going forward, provided that we just settle down a little bit and get through some of the volatile times that were upon us right here.
It's interesting. We were up a lot further early this morning. I know earnings have been coming in largely better than expected. We've also seen interest rates stabilize, at least market rates, and this view that with that slowing of job growth picture we had last month, the Federal Reserve might be back on to a cut this year. Do you think that's still on?
I think that's bad news. I think a cut would be not good. And that's the funny part about data and about investors and us all alike is that we forget that times, Neil, when the market does best are times when the Fed's out of the way, when we're not talking about them, when we're not counting on them for this monetary rescue that everybody is screaming about, that the market was clamoring for some months ago when you and I were talking to my friend and saying there were going to be 6 cuts. That was the prediction. And then 4, then 2, then hopefully 0, because when the Fed's out of the way and prices are stable, employment has been, let's say, maximized, if you will, as per their mantra, that's when the market can do the market's work. That's when the economy can do the economic work. And if we got the Fed out of the way, which I believe we're getting there, I think a couple more months after especially the June meeting when they don't do anything, I think the market's going to realize that we're in a sweet spot when it comes to the Federal Reserve interest rate policy.
In an election year, particularly presidential election year, it's usually very good for the markets. This market has had a pretty good run. I know there's a consensus building. I was reading, I think, in the Wall Street Journal that a lot of analysts still expect another 10% more of market gains by the end of this year. Are you in that camp?
I am. I think those 10% gains are going to be a little more challenging to achieve vis-a-vis the gains we've already had this year, which have been amazing. I mean, the market was going straight up basically from October of last year until the end of March. So certainly we've hit a little bit of, troubled waters here. But I do believe, Neil, we're going to get another 10 to 15% on, your major market averages overall. But how that comes to us is going to be the challenge. So money managers, wealth managers like ourselves need to be somewhat strategic, somewhat tactical about how we get that next 10 to 15%. But it is coming, Virginia. And therefore, you just have to kind of hang in there and wait for it. But also don't get freaked out like we had a couple weeks ago when we were talking on Fox Business several times about how these were buying opportunities, not opportunities to sell when the market does pull back 3, 4, 5% in a week. That's actually a great long-term opportunity for a lot of investors to come in and reload their portfolio positions.
All right, thank you, my friend, very much. Scott Martin on that. Uber bear Peter Leidy has a slightly different view than Scott. Of course, he'll be coming later on. Fair and balanced as always. We always want you to hear both sides.